So you're probably looking at the title of this video and thinking, oh my goodness, Space Cowboy has lost it, he's saying it for views, something of that nature. I'm here to tell you, if you've been following me for quite some time, you know I don't say stuff for the sake of saying stuff. I say what's on my mind, whether I'm right or wrong, and I'll admit it when I'm wrong. But ultimately, these are thoughts that are on my mind, and this one has been in the back of my mind for quite some time. I mean, I've said it publicly too, but I don't think I made a proper video on it. And the biggest thing is that I had a comment from the video about Jerry Jones and him going on ESPN First Take making him look like a complete idiot. And it was by Logan Onyx, where he said the following: "It really feels like they're setting up Dak and McCarthy as scapegoats," shaking my head. It's like they just expect Dak to make this work, and it's like, hey, you're a top 10 quarterback. You shouldn't need blocking or wide receivers. It's so stupid because look at all the other good teams like KC. They make sure Mahomes got a better O-line and made sure they get him weapons. And this is a key point in all of this because there are teams that even with these salary cap restrictions that many people think, they manipulate the cap, get their teams better, get their weapons for their quarterback, and they contend. You look at the Bucks, for example, regardless of how you look at Brady's contract, you look at teams like Kansas City, right? And they do what they have to do to make their quarterbacks not have to die and actually do what they have to do. Do their goddamn job. Right? It's like if you're working in an office and they give you a Windows 95 computer and everybody else has Windows 10 or 11, you're probably like, what the hell? How am I supposed to do my job and not get ridiculed without having the proper tools? You see what I mean? Like, there is this weird mindset with Cowboys fans that are like, well, Dak Prescott's making all that money, so he needs to make up for the deficiencies of this organization. Well, here's the thing. I have gone on the record numerous times on Twitter Spaces, YouTube videos, live streams, you name it. I've gone on the record and I have said, listen, it is not the responsibility of a player for them to mask the ineffectiveness, the incompetence of a front office that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Right? And I think that's a big thing that people lose when they have these types of conversations, because it's one thing if a player is not doing their job. Right? Like, I get that. Like, not everybody's perfect. I get that. It's one thing when a player sucks. It's another thing when a player is well. And an organization feels like they don't have to do anything. Right? And that's exactly what the Cowboys are doing. And this isn't the first time that this has come up. But it's more talked about now because people are actually paying attention to what the Cowboys are doing. The biggest thing is that when I say that the Cowboys are purposefully sabotaging their head coach and the quarterback, some people will think of it as an excuse because they feel as if, hey, you are just not willing to criticize the player or the coach. You don't want to have anything negative around them. Which, listen, there have been times where Mike McCarthy, I mean, just recently where I've been agitated. Dak has had fewer moments, but there are moments where I'm like, he did not play well, and he didn't help you, and especially in the playoff game, right? But the thing is that context is king when it comes to everything regarding football or when you're trying to have these honest conversations. So, let's look at one particular situation and what's happened now to where I'm trying to figure out what the Cowboys are trying to do here. So we start off in 2018, right? And the Dallas Cowboys rather than looking at the roster with a young quarterback that they're still trying to figure out, is he the guy or not? Rather than you acquiring weapons in that period of time to help the quarterback get better, try and build some repertoire, see if he's worth anything, what you do is you basically let go of one of your guys in Dez Bryant. You bring in Allen Hurns, which he's mid. You bring in Deontay Thompson, who was ass. You have Cole Beasley and Terrence Williams, which, if I'm looking at that on a piece of paper, I'm like, how the hell is any franchise quarterback supposed to work with anything like this? Like, this is just unbelievably mid. And I guarantee you that if you put situations where you have Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or anything like that, they wouldn't do as good as how they have been doing now with the weapons they have now. I mean, in fact, when you look at Tom Brady's last years in New England, with them not having, like, true number ones, it wasn't like he had, like, amazing seasons. It was, he did his part, but he could have done better if you gave him better weapons. In fact, that was probably, not even probably, that was one of the main reasons why he left. Like, New England wasn't supplying him with adequate weapons, right? And so, when we look at Dak Prescott and what happened in 2018, you go through the year, you're 3-4, your offense looks like complete shit, and then you panic because you're like, oh no, I didn't realize our offense was going to be that bad. Well, you know what, we can't afford to have a losing season. You know, we need to make sure we have asses in the stands. So let's go trade for a first-round pick and hope to God that this guy from Oakland works out. You get Amari Cooper. He comes in. The offense now has life because you finally have a guy that can help your offense move and open it up a bit more. And then all of a sudden, you go to the playoffs because of the situation you were in. And would you look at that? You go to the playoffs and awesome, you finally know, hey, I got a quarterback that actually could do something because of us giving him a weapon. And what's more annoying is if you surrounded him with weapons, odds are you probably get a better seeding. Not 13-3, but now you're not like, well, shit, we're starting off the season 3-4 because our dumbasses didn't get any weapons. And the biggest thing about that is the third year is when players can be eligible for a contract extension. So after the 2018 season, Dak Prescott was ready to get a contract extension. And the biggest thing with that is that Stephen Jones has gone on the record throughout this entire time period up until Dak Prescott got his big contract extension where he's like, well, you know, at the end of the day, well, Jerry talked about, like, there's pie. Stephen just like, well, the salary cap's so important. That quarterback contract eats up a whole lot, and you can't afford to get these free agents and shit like that. But you didn't give the guy any money yet. And if you make him look like shit, maybe, just maybe, you don't have to pay him because you're more worried about the salary cap than your team winning, right? So you go forward to 2021. This is great because you look at the scenario. You have a really good wide receiving core, a nice tight end, pause, and the the offensive line looks decent, right? And you go through that season and you're like, well, shit, we got ourselves a damn good offense. But you know how much money some of these guys are making, and you're like, you know what? We don't want to give so many targets to one guy. And also, we don't like a certain guy for his stance on things. Amari Cooper. So you know what? Rather than restructuring his contract to open up cap space because we're so tied up in the cap, we're going to go ahead, and because of how bad of a season he had, we're going to go ahead and we're going to trade him for a 5th-round pick. Swap 6th-round picks. Because we don't want to pay his contract anymore because he's overpaid. And there were plenty of people that held that same sentiment about Amari Cooper because they're like, you know what? Amari really isn't that good. And, you know, like, look at his numbers, and he was inconsistent. And you know what? These guys in the media have a right point. So they let him go. But here's the thing. Did they do anything to replace him properly? Okay, let's see. You do have CeeDee Lamb. That's good. You brought back Michael Gallup. Okay. Well, what else? We drafted a guy. We brought a one-year free agent in. That's pretty much it. Okay. Well, at least your wide receiving core isn't complete shit like in 2018. But what about the offensive line? You know, we were having a big conversation about, like, yo, this offensive line looks like shit. Like, what is going on? Like, this offensive line needs work. Right? Like, that was the biggest conversation. Hey, this offensive line needs to be rebuilt. So what do? Okay, so you let La'el Collins go because you feel like he's a knucklehead. And so rather than trading him, you just say, you know, we're just going to cut him. So you cut him. You get some cap space relief. Then, you let Connor Williams go. And the contract that he got, the Cowboys could have probably brought him back on that. And I wouldn't have been mad at that. So, you let these two guys go. Okay, so we need a right tackle. Okay, we got Terrence Steele. You know, he's okay. He's good. We need a left guard. Oh, we got Connor McGovern. Okay, well, I think we can do better there. Did you see how we did last season? The same guy that got benched for Connor Williams? Because you thought that he was better, and then you put him in, and he looks even worse? Like, what? Okay. Your center, he's not calling pass protections. He needs to handle those interior rushes better. Is that a problem? Oh, what's that? You have a left tackle that literally has an annual trip to IR because his body is literally falling apart? Oh, we don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to sign not even like a one-year veteran tackle or guard. You don't do anything. What do you do in the draft? Oh, well, you see, we drafted a left guard and a left tackle. Okay. Are they going to play? No, I don't know. I don't know. And what? You purposefully decide we need to rebuild this offensive line. And the guys you replace them with aren't even good enough? With these bums that you have? What? And you're expecting the quarterback to not get killed back there? And I'm not trying to say that the offensive line is complete dog shit, because you do have Zach Martin and stuff like that, but, like, what? And then you have a situation where your left tackle goes down for the entire year. And, you know, maybe we should sign someone as a backup. Oh, no, we're good. You know, we like the options we have internally. We'll throw Tyler Smith out there. The same dude that was getting reps exclusively at left guard. And now you want to play him at left tackle? And then you have your coach coming out there saying, like, well, he needs a bit more reps before we can make him start. Like, what in the hell is going on? What the hell? And you mean to tell me that this team is competent and is actually trying to put a winning product? What? Listen, man, it really feels, and then another thing, when you have your goddamn owner and your de facto GM and Stephen Jones being like, well, there's only so much pie to go around, cap space at the end of the day. Like, they just are talking about cap space and not talking about free agents. That's a red flag. Like, you are more concerned about having like $50 million in cap space than having a winning football team. Then you have your owner coming out here going like, you know, I feel like Dan Quinn would make a fine head coach here in Dallas, and this, that, and a third. Then you have to have your head coach go on like the Rich Eisen show and be like, yeah, you know, this is an unusual circumstance that I'm in right now, but I'm telling you, our team's gonna win, and like whatever he said. But the fact that he had to address that, and the fact that Dan Quinn had to say something, and the fact that, like, you know, this could cause tension. Then you have the rumors about Sean Payton after he retired. Now you have your head coach on basically this dead man walking like status. Regardless of what happens in 2022, he's probably canned. And then you're purposely making this team worse to make it as hard as possible for him to have repeat success. And there are going to be some Cowboys fans that'll be like, you know, Space Cowboy, you're just overreacting. Oh, Space Cowboy, you know, you're being unrealistic. Space Cowboy, you're not even a real fan. You're just complaining all the time. Motherfucker, I want this team to goddamn win shit. I'm sick and tired of having to talk about how the front office did Dickie McGee's hacks to build a team. And the other thing is going back to the original comment made, it feels like you are trying to make it so that these two guys are getting as much of the blame as possible so that you can let these motherfuckers go so that you don't have to pay them anymore. Go ahead. Seriously. Go ahead. Let go of Dak. If you feel like he's not the guy, let him go. I'm not going to complain because those guys in Dallas know how to build a team, right? Okay, let go of Dak Prescott. Go get another quarterback. You don't like Mike McCarthy? Go get another head coach. See how things go there. If you guys win something, awesome. If you don't, you guys are going to look like the biggest dumb fucks in the history of human civilization. And that's just the end of that, guys. I'm not trying to build pessimism. My point is there is a legitimate problem with this franchise, and there is legitimate cause to believe that there is something going on here, and it's fishy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little take, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.